Dennis Virag, president of Automotive Consulting Group. He has been a consultant to auto companies and suppliers for more than 20 years. Dennis is on the phone with us from Toledo, Ohio this morning. Dennis, are we going to look back at this IPO a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, and say the timing was terrible?
I believe we could do that. When you look at the current situation, we have a scenario where we have a company that has just undergone a management change. We have Ed Whitaker leaving. We have a new CEO taking over. Whenever you have an IPO, one thing you look for is management continuity. We do not have that in this situation. The second is we have a period of economic uncertainty. The economy of the U.S. is weakening. Consumers are less confident than they were 6 months ago. They are beginning to step back in terms of spending, so that could cause a problem for the IPO. And with the consumer being uncertain and the economy weakening, what we will likely find is a weaker second half in terms of automotive sales than we had in the first half. So with sales going down, the profitability of GM could potentially go down. And when we talk profitability, we're looking actually on a global basis because the market in China is weakening, the market in Brazil is weakening. Certainly, the market here in the U.S. is weakening. So GM faces a very, very challenging second half of the year. All of this.
No, and Dennis, GM highlighted the perception factor in its IPO filing, saying how perception is so important to its comeback. Is an IPO going to help or hurt the image that GM leaves in the mind of car buyers, the people who really dictate whether the company comes back or not?
Well, I think the IPO is more political than practical at this time. GM wants to say, yes, the taxpayer has been paid back. I think the administration wants to present the face that the IPO has paid the taxpayer back, but the naysayers, the people who call General Motors government motors, whether the IPO is successful or not, whether the money is paid back or not, are still going to refer to General Motors as government motors. So from a perceptual standpoint, I think it's a terrible move.
How about being public as a distraction? You followed many a public auto company over the years. Is this really the kind of thing that GM needs right now? The burden of filing, making sure all the financials are in order, not that they wouldn't have to do that anyway, but being a public company does impose not just costs, but attention that management has to dedicate to investors and so forth.
You're absolutely right. You know, given a choice of a private company versus a public company, you want to be a private company in terms of focus and distraction to the executive management. Yep, when you're a public company, you really have to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Otherwise, you get into potentially problems with the SEC and other regulatory bodies. So, you know, it would be better for General Motors to keep a focus on improving the operations, to you know, increase the interaction and the operation between the international operations of General Motors, like Ford had done with the One Ford. So you know, this will be a distraction. It will be additional burden on General Motors, and I think it will reduce some of the focus on the continued successful turnaround at General Motors.
Dennis, thank you very much. That is Dennis Virag of the Automotive Consulting Group.